If there's one thing I look forward to every year, more than most other things, it's New York Comic Con. I've been going since 2009 and have only missed it twice, and it's been worth it every time. You might think it would get old after so long, or that it would be the same thing every year. If you think so, then I think I can reasonably assume you've never attended the convention. You see, NYCC is far more than just a crowded room full of people selling collectibles and comics. It's also signings and photo ops with dozens of celebrities, a roster that changes every year. It's a slate of panels from actors and creators both big and small, about everything from writing to upcoming releases. It's tons of artists and writers stationed at rows upon rows of tables, selling prints and signing comics, or even filling commissions. You ever see a comic with a blank cover? Those are designed for people to bring to conventions and have their favorite artists fill in with original art, something which I've not actually done, and which, unsurprisingly, can get pricey. In short, it's nerd heaven. Go ahead and do a Google search for NYCC cosplay, or some similar combination of keywords, and you'll get an idea of just how much people love the con. There are some incredibly impressive costumes. Or maybe consider the fact that it was reported that 200,000 people attended the convention this year. Put all that together, and you might have a pretty good picture of how much more than just a bunch of vendors Comic-Con really is, and why it's so beloved to so many of us. I said I've been going to New York Comic Con since 2009, and that's true, but my first convention was actually the New York Anime Festival in 2008, as I recall. You may remember me mentioning it way back in our post about the Skylight Diner. Eventually, as the two conventions grew, they were merged into one big event, and it's just been getting bigger every year. NYCC takes up most, if not all, of the Javits Center these days and lasts for a full 4 days. It's all very exciting. It's also harder to get tickets, which is more stressful than exciting, but the relief and subsequent months of anticipation are worth it. And surprisingly, for an event of this scale, it's still very affordable, at least for basic one-day passes. They're worth every penny. Of course, there are plenty of things to spend more money on while you're there. I don't want to brag, but I've gotten some pretty cool stuff over the years. Okay, I totally want to brag. I paid more than I would for anyone else to get an autograph from Stan Lee at his last NYCC appearance. It was incredible and a bit overwhelming to have the opportunity to meet one of my lifelong heroes, even if it was only for less than a minute. I may have cried just a tiny bit as the line got closer to the table. Not everything is expensive, of course. In 2019, I paid a few bucks for a raffle ticket and won a cool statue of the TV version of Batwoman, worth a significant amount more than the ticket and, if I remember correctly, wasn't officially on the market yet. It was a pain to carry it around, but I so seldom win things that I think a little hassle was a worthwhile trade. I won't lie though, the show floor was a bit underwhelming this year. I bought a trade at the Midtown Comics booth, but otherwise I just wandered a bit without really finding anything else I wanted to buy. I actually spent most of my time this year in panels and in Artist Alley getting comics signed and listening to some really interesting conversations. Also, Sean Murphy drew Batman on the inside cover of my copy of Batman White Knight, while we chatted about how different his take on the character is from many others. So that was definitely one of this year's highlights. I got to 3 panels this year, 2 about writing and 1 about costume design and special effects. I tried to see if I could find recordings online, but I think that usually only happens with the really big panels on the main and Empire stages. While those big reveals and super famous guests are pretty cool, I think focusing on those does a disservice to all the other great panels on offer. I know Comic-Con isn't for everyone. It's loud, crowded, and depending on what you're doing, can get pretty costly. There's so much to see and do that it can get overwhelming, even for a veteran like me. But if you've ever been interested in going and haven't taken the plunge yet, I highly recommend it. You'll definitely come away from it with some great memories, and probably some new merch too.